Hi guys. So yesterday when we talked about factoring trinomials by grouping, and I don't know if you noticed, but every single group of factors we had the same signs inside the parentheses, and that was all determined by that C constant that we had. That C was always positive, so we had two numbers that were positive that multiplied to it, or two numbers that were negative that multiplied to it. What we're going to do today is we're now going to look at the other type of number that we could have, which would be negative. And then we're going to mix it up later with going back and forth between factoring both types of trinomials. So today we're going to, if you notice here, we have C is -6, and our factors inside our, for our binomials are going to be one of each sign. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the same thing that we did yesterday, where you're going to have to make sure you pause the video and copy the notes down, but I want to show you how we test it out, okay? All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next slide, which is going to be how do we find the factors of x squared plus 5x, minus 5x minus 6. So again, our first step is going to be get that coefficient in front, multiply it by the constant. So our coefficient here is 1. When I multiply it to -6, I'm now going to get -6. So that's going to be our magic number. So we're doing 1 times -6, and that's going to be the number that we need to look for the factors of. So now what we're going to do is we're going to list the factors of -6. So same numbers multiply to 6, but signs are different. So two numbers that multiply to -6 are +1 and -6, and +2 and -3. And then we're going to list the other factors. The other factors that multiply to -6 are -1 times +6 and -2 times +3. So when our number's negative, our signs have to be opposite. So now the next step is going to be we have to add our factors together to see which one are going to match up to -5. So in your calculator, it's really important to use your integer rules or your calculator to get these sums. 1 plus -6 is -5. 2 plus -3 is -1. And then we get -1 plus 6 is +6. +5. And then -2 plus 3 is +1. Now we look for which number gives us -5, and that was our first group of factors, which would be +1 and -6. The same steps are going to occur. This is the only thing that's different, is that we now have negative and positive numbers. So we separate using our, go to step 3, make sure that you find those two numbers that we're going to separate -5 into. So we're going to bring down the -5 to a +1x and a -6x. So now the signs are going to be different. We bring down our two numbers, our two terms, x squared and -6, and now we're going to group it. So pause the video here and make sure you get these steps down. Now we go into step 4, where we group our two first terms. When we group the first two terms and the second two terms, we find our GCF to be factored out of them. And in the first two, it's going to be x, and then the next two, it's going to be -6. So when we divide those out, the x comes out in front and the -6 comes out in front. And when we divide it, we get x plus 1 and x plus 1. So those are going to be what our two terms look like after we've factored out the GCFs. Now, pause the video and make sure you write this down. Now, just remember that common factor is going to be brought out in front. So we bring our x plus 1 out. And then those two leftover pieces are what's going to be in our other factor, which is going to be x minus 6. So our final answer is going to be x plus 1 times x minus 6. But please don't forget, you could also write it as x minus 6 times x plus 1. But it's super important that you keep the signs where they're at. Sorry, it's hard to see that. X minus 6 times x plus 1. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is pause this video, get all these notes down, and then if you feel confident enough, go on to the practice problems, check your answers with the answer key, and then go on to the Google form Nope, Castle Learning assignment that's due for today. Otherwise, I have another video for the instructional video for the next 3 examples. Okay? Good luck.